Welcome, race fans, back to SVR. My name is Webbo, here to bring you today's coverage of the G2 division. This is, of course, our Daytona round 3 of the championship, and this is how our championship looks after the first 2 rounds. Lili leads, having not won one of the races, but double podiuming his way to the top of the standings on 28.7 ahead of Sock for Argento Racing out there. Another driver who has not yet won. NTO, his teammate, has won a race and is in third position on 18 points, with Grantley Peace on 16, just one ahead of Black Evo in fifth position. B-Bar one further back then for Hector Motorsports in sixth. Daddy Banana followed by joint eighth place Brum and Lord Top Hat, VR Hot Laps, Monkey Games, Rhino Zenith and Ping Slayer making up our 14 car permanent driver field. We are about to get ourselves underway. Let me just switch out to our team's view, and we will see that Argento Racing are on top at the moment by 6 points ahead of Oro. And then there's quite a gulf, nearly double the amount of points, nearly half the amount of points, I should say, are Morado and Azul tied on third place with 27 points, followed by Hector Motorsports ahead of Obsidian and Zelen joint sixth position. So very tight at the top and outside of the top two places here so far in the championship. But of course we have another 10 rounds to go, including this one. We are at Daytona for a fantastic GT3 race that should in theory go day, night, day. We will see how it all works out. A bright, sunny Florida day, as you would expect. A fair amount of wind, and we'll see a few aircraft here and there as well. The flags flying fairly strongly next to the racetrack. And this is how our qualifying session worked out. We've got both Zelen Motorsport team cars in the McLarens here, possibly losing out a little bit on top speed. The McLarens qualifying out in the back row of the grid. Lord Top Hat ahead of his Kiwi teammate, Monkey Games, Kiwi-based teammate, I should say, out in New Zealand. But our Antipodean Zelen Motorsports G2 division qualifying at the back. For this one, the BMW of the Obsidian Team Black mega affiliated team here with Zenith Specs back in 12th. B-Bar qualifying in 11th position. Zenith, one of the only 3 drivers who have elected to not start on the medium tyre. Zenith starting at the back on the hard tyre. That could well be a pretty smart choice, you have to say, from him. We've got Lili then in P10. Also starting on the hard tyres, but Lili in the Tortoro Porsche, that is significantly below expectations at this early stage of the season. Of course, we've got Phil qualifying his teammate just ahead of him here on the medium tyres starting as well, and a good message there for anyone affected by the terrible cancer disease there across the windshield. I won't make an attempt at pronouncing that right now, but we get the message, and we're all in support of that, of course. Team Azul's VR Hot Laps after a promotion out of the Rookie League, qualifying in P8, so he's in very good company here, starting as most drivers are. On the soft tyres, we've got Black Evo for Team Morado qualifying just, fairly significantly behind his teammate at this point. Black Evo starting on P7 with Sock right there. Again, another driver who heads our championship standings, but qualifying out of position, you'd have to say, in P6. So look for Lili, look for Sock, with no disrespect to the drivers around them, just going on form so far. Rhino qualifying in 5th position with Brum starting, the only driver starting on the soft tyre here at Daytona. Could that be inspired or a mistake? We will have to wait and see. For Team Morado there with the Optimus Prime style bonnet livery or hood livery sticker there on the front as well. I can't unsee that once I've seen it. But the 008 of Brum in P4. Grant qualifying in P3, and shout out to Grant for sharing the replay with me in plenty of haste when I needed it. So big thank you to Grant. Daddy Banana on the front row then, although it is a rolling start. Daddy Banana starting in P2, but it's NTO, our Corsican driver, starting for Argento out front in the Peugeot RCZ on the medium tyre. So we are about to get ourselves underway then here at Daytona. Our starter is ready for us. Yeah, let's get underway then, shall we? 27 laps, day-night-day transition, hopefully. Crowd are ready. I hope you're ready too. Let's get us started then for round 3 of the championship. It's NTO ahead of Daddy Banana, Grant and Brum. 4 different teams in the top 4, and it's drop the clutch, and it's go, 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 and a nice steady start naturally with that rolling start here in the G division divisions this season, heading down into turn 1, which is normally an absolute melee of a situation, but thankfully the drivers all just about getting it a-okay. Looks like Zenith possibly losing out slightly there. Oh no, he's gained a position, has Zenith, on B-bar, and Zenith on the hard tyres, so that's no mean feat at all. Through the International Horseshoe we go. It's a little bit lower grip on the very outside edge of the circuit. Fantastic visuals here as we get NTO ahead of Grant. Daddy Banana then deposed down to P3 through that first run. Grant up to P2, and I think here for doing the business today, certainly got his game face out and has Grant me peace. Zenith just behind Lili, but I was just speaking about Grant, and unfortunately Grant has dropped down the order. So what on earth happened here? In fact, I'm going to go back to see his overtake, given that we're here for it. So how did he manage to get his way by Daddy Banana? Oh, okay, so Daddy Banana went side by side with NTO, who dealt him fairly short shrift there. Grant me peace, waltzing on through this one into the international hairpin or horseshoe there at the extreme edge. I was talking about this being a little bit low grip on the outside. There was no problem for him through here. No danger particularly from the rear. Full speed here, full throttle on the way down on heavy full tank of fuel. Into the next corner goes Grant me peace. Oh, it's just the most tiny little miscalculation there. Contact with the barrier, an automatic reset, I hope, and back out then to the rearmost position for Grant me peace. A huge deficit then from him. NTO leads us ahead of Daddy Banana halfway round this first opening lap, as Brum looks good on the soft tyres and ready to absolutely race hard then today. He was racing same day in the morning with me at Dragon Trail in the same very car, albeit a different livery. We've got Sock chasing down Rhino behind. So Brum moving up to 3rd position thanks to that Grant me peace situation. Rhino looking good as well in that 4th place. Sock in 5th, Black Evo in 6th. VR Hot Laps, Phil 7th and 8th with Zenith ahead of Lili, Lord Top Hat, Monkey Games, and then Grant, who managed to avoid damage on the car, but B-Bar has had a drama as well. B-Bar, no damage on his Porsche, but his Hector Porsche, but that is far from desirable situation for him. We've got Daddy Banana down the inside this time, and is another bit of contact into turn 1 with NTO. Daddy Banana reluctant to take the position, but Brum will have the impetus here because he will not feel the need to wait for an overtake. Down the inside on his soft tyres goes Brum into the International Horseshoe, and the similar livery but not teammated Porsche behind him of Rhino follows him right through past Daddy Banana, and that all unwound itself for Daddy Banana into turn 1 there, making contact with NTO, and then very sportingly allowing him through the top 7. Getting away, I want to say top 8, getting away here a little bit from Zenith, but Zenith is following in good order. Zenith ahead of the 2 Zelen Motorsports green entry of Lord Top Hat and Monkey Games, our Antipodean racers at SVR. Lili in the Porsche, Tortoro Porsche ahead of Grant and B-Bar, but NTO then has the soft-tired Brum there as the sun starts to set over the western side of the Daytona track, and of course the drivers will be contending with that sunset Brum down into the bus stop, and he's so confident on those soft tyres. Brum straight through there. What a run that was, as NTO has to just wait and scratch his head as to quite how Brum in the Ferrari 296 managed to get by him with such relative ease out of the in and out and into the bus stop. Rhino, the next one, then queuing up behind the relatively chunky Porsche RCZ. Rhino, headlights coming on automatically, I think, as the light levels drop. And Daddy Banana's right there in the wedge-shaped Lamborghini Huracan, which has been discontinued from GT3 racing now. IRL. Down the inside goes Rhino, following NTO, who protects the inside better this time than perhaps he did last time. Daddy Banana looks hot to trot into that first corner, but perhaps feeling a little bit more shy on his approach into there now after two consecutive problems. Down into lap 3 though, and Daddy Banana goes through into the international horseshoe hairpin corner and recovers a position. Then back to Rhino Sock, launching his attack now on the medium tyre, and we have got a fantastically close racetrack. Down the inside goes Rhino on Daddy Banana. They'll go side by side out of the west horseshoe, but that leaves Daddy Banana in a good position now for the inside line through the in and out. Rhino tucking the nose in, midpoint between the in and the out, and back onto the raceway then we go. And in fact, it is Sock who gets the much better grip on the outside to the inside switchback, back onto the NASCAR oval, and he is absolutely streaking ahead with the top speed, but it sort of halts slightly. Rhino regaining a little bit of momentum on his way down as the sun has set dramatically quickly. This is a kind of Christmas period UK speed of sunset. It's Brum ahead of NTO and Daddy Banana as the top 8 are looking fantastic at the moment. VR Hot Laps in 6th, Black Evo in 7th, and Phil on his medium tyres in the Totoro Porsche also right up there. Looks like the man most likely though is Black Evo in the Murado Ferrari 296. Round the outside we go, and Rhino, we know how good that Lamborghini can be into turn 1, and Rhino tries to get his tail ahead. That was millimeters in that one, but he manages to make the move. So as night falls around Daytona here, we've also got some action happening behind there. It's Zenith Specs fighting off the advances of Lord Top Hat. Grant Me Pieces come back through past one of the Zelen Motorsports green McLarens, and it's slightly elbows out there as they go through the international horseshoe. Not quite sure how Top Hat will view that one. Perhaps we ought to have another look at that from off board. This is Lord Top Hat turning in. Oh, there's some great BMW teamwork going on there, and I think that is absolutely fine. Unfortunately though, Lord Top Hat kind of boxed into a corner, and it was if they coordinated that one. Oh, Lord Top Hat catching a wheel on the outside into the barrier. Heavy damage as a reminder here at SVR. A double spin, then a nice little 720 in recovery, but unfortunately the first impact was quite strong, and he's damaged his McLaren, and he's only a small portion of the way through his medium tyre run. However, the soft tyre shod Brum picking up a good amount of gap now, probably looking at over a second back to season standout so far. NTO, our Corsican driver, in that second place with Daddy Banana chasing him down, has already traded a little bit of paint with the Argento, the beautiful Argento Peugeot RCZ. Ahead of Sock then in 4th, Rhino in 7th. We've got VR Hot Laps, who has made up another position. I feel remiss to have not caught that one, but I wonder if that was just based on here it was. Look, VR Hot Laps round side by side with Rhino. That's all about the exit out of the in and out. Rhino trying to get that position back, but before they get all the way down into the bus stop, the Lamborghini Huracan in a really good position. Little lick of flame just to toast the front splitter of the Ferrari 296, the Murado 296, just to add insult to injury there, as Phil chases down Black Evo now, and is high side, low side, looking for the best way through. Obviously, staying low here at Daytona is the shortest distance to the line, but if you have to lift to stay in that position, sometimes it is better to head forward. The two BMW Obsidian cars are bringing themselves forward. Grant Piece ahead. Zenispecs ahead of Grant, but Grant has just taken a penalty and is losing his time now. He was trying to catch. A reminder then for anyone new to us, bump drafting here at Daytona is barred. No pun intended, but no bump drafting even between teammates is allowed. So you can't try and protect from a penalty by helping a driver forward like that. It's all about just trying to keep this as clean as humanly possible. We've got Brum ahead of NTO and Daddy Banana. Sock though trying to hold off Rhino at the moment on the 5th racing lap. Well into the night conditions now. The hard tyre runners will be starting to feel that drop in temperature, drop in grip incrementally right now. It is going to start hurting them, and drivers running out of grip. I would have to count Brum as the most likely among those, but he has done the absolute best start he could possibly do with that soft tyre. So he's got himself track position. Brum will inevitably pit early and then have to try and run the rest of the race at a deficit to the other drivers in terms of track position. But will he be able to unlock some speed in some clear air? He'll be eyeing up that track map and seeing where he can drop back in. Could he potentially drop in some clear air? That's the big question for Brum, because his strategy absolutely relies on that. Lili has lost positions now. Again, a big surprise for me. Brum is in the pits on lap 5, so he has cut his losses immediately. NTO retakes the lead of the race ahead of Sock and Rhino, because Daddy Banana has lost positions and he's losing more now. Daddy Banana, was that possibly it was a penalty then? We will see time penalties throughout the race, most notably through that bus stop chicane, because the margin for getting the best lap time versus a penalty is so tight, especially as the light conditions drop like this. Thankfully though, Daddy Banana not hitting the barrier, rejoining through turn 1 in P6. Ahead of him is Black Evo, who is should really be in the Obsidian team, but he's in the brighter coloured Joker team of Team Murado in P5. So that colour combination just makes me think of Lego Batman's Joker all the time, or Batman 1, the movie. P5 right there, and there's Daddy Banana clearly struggling with the grip now that those temperatures are falling away, the track temperatures falling away from the drivers, as there are not enough cars on track really to maintain the racing line track temperatures that perhaps they would do for a little bit longer here as the sun starts to set. Grant struggling with the front end of his BMW into the in and out. He's got his right blinker on as well. He's obviously paid that aftermarket upgrade on the BMW to actually have blinkers fitted. B-Bar in 11, Brum in 12th, Lili in 13th. Brum did resume then ahead of a couple cars there, and he's on the medium tyres, so committing to a 2-stop, no doubt at all. The G1 race was a 2-stop, but they do race for several more laps than these drivers, so I wondered if we might try and get some hard tyre 1-stoppers here. We'll see what Lili and Lord Top Hat do. Lili might have elected to turn the engine down here, but he is so far back, I think that it's not going to work out for him, sadly. Lord Top Hat on brand new hard tyres. He's already got off those medium tyres that he started on, and that might have been for damage repair, because that is far from plan A. NTO leads us ahead of Sock and the fast charging Rhino right behind him. I didn't actually even mean that pun, but there you go. Rhino in P3. Black Evo has made his way past Daddy Banana. Now, I don't know if we can just catch exactly when that took place, but no, it was Daddy Banana who was struggling a little bit earlier on. He's just ahead of his teammate now, Banana, who is VR Hot Laps. Check out VR Hot Laps channel, of course. And he posts some fun highlights post race, as well as the rest of his great online racing. P6, and then we've got Phil in P7. And VR Hot Laps having a look now. Sorry, that was Daddy Banana trying to find his way by Black Evo and get back into P4 and lead this chasing pack for the podium. It is lap 7 of the 27. The medium runners will be targeting lap 9 or 10 to get through to 1/3 distance of the race. As we have Phil, it's a question of how deep into the race the hard tyres will run and how slow that will mean that the drivers will be. So it's about minimising your hard tyre stint and maximising your medium tyre stint, I think, today. Zenith ahead of Monkey Games and Grant Me Peace as they come through then. Zenith, the hard tyre runner here, so not helping his teammate particularly by being ahead of him, but I think Grant may be having his own issues trying to get by. Now, is this Monkey Games just allowing the drivers through? Sorry, is this Zenith? No, he has a penalty. So very sportingly, as we've seen before here from Zenith, staying high, he got a massive penalty. That is huge for track limits through the bus stop. There you can see him dropping back significantly. However, his teammate will charge by. Monkey Games defending hard on the inside here. You can go too wide if you're very cooperative and the car on the inside gets his braking right, but you've got to be extremely brave, and unfortunately the guy on the inside absolutely did not get his braking right. Let's have a look at this again. He's trying to pick the best balance between normal braking zone, low grip on the inside, and holding firm on the inside and defending that run. Oh, he's hit the invisible wall. There's an extension of that barrier. I don't know if we can get a good look at just how close that was. Let me try and get you this camera angle here. Braking was absolutely spot on, but there's no way he legitimately hit the barrier that you can see there. We've seen that before. Oh, that is an unpleasant, unsafe rejoin potentially by the t-shirt on my merch store, as Zenith Specs gets somewhat rudely gap closed on him as he tries to come through at racing speed on the racing line. Of course, B-Bar ahead now of Monkey Games. Brum on those medium tyres after his first pit stop. His deficit to the lead looks to be about one of the 4 sectors of the racetrack. Is it a 4? I think it's a 4-sector racetrack, so about a quarter of the track at the moment in the 008. And he won't want to see drivers closing towards him from in front too quickly, because it will affect his race pace getting by those drivers. So he'd love to happen upon these drivers just as their tyres run out, and I think that will happen soon enough with B-Bar. But I think with the grip differential for Brum at the moment, here we are on board with Brum. Here, the former leader of the race, of course. Lightning start on the soft tyres as he looks for his best opportunity. Good defence from B-Bar, from Monkey Games, in fact, but Brum is just walking past Monkey Games there. Oh dear, I'm really sorry, Brum. But this happened way before I'm commentating. But yes, Brum into the barrier there. Sorry, B-Bar into the barrier. I'm sorry to say, I almost I besmirched the good character and driving of Brum there, didn't I? Let's have another look at exactly how that one went down for B-Bar. He was defending hard, and then boom, into the barrier. Unfortunately, too much apex bump there, unfortunately for him, and that is a big drop in position and of course damage. But the only ray of light for B-Bar is he wasn't far away from his first provisional pit stop. A little slide from Lilac coming through there as he sees another Porsche in front of him. Little top hat. Has made his pit stop, has not fueled, I don't think, to the very maximum that he could have done. NTO ahead of Sock then. Sock has been fantastic and has made his way by here. 3 or 4 drivers since his start. Sock up to P2 behind his teammate now. I'm sure Sock won't be thinking about playing rear gunner to his teammate, but essentially that is what he represents from NTO's point of view. NTO and Sock similar tyre deg, although I think Sock has used his a little bit more. than NTO, because he hasn't been able to pace himself quite as easily, getting by other people, of course. Rhino in P3, Daddy Banana ahead of Black Evo, now in 5th position. The metallic purple of Black Evo's Team Murado car looking absolutely fantastic in the race. Racetrack floodlights here. Ferrari handling itself very, very differently through than the Lamborghinis. Oh, that's Phil. That's Phil with an oversteer moment into the barrier when he's absolutely trying to nail the throttle coming through. But I think that was just a little bit too much of those bumps again. Tries to avoid crossing the racing line there, but there's a concrete wall on the other side. There's nothing you can do about that. It's there's no outfield, so to speak, here at Daytona. Of course, that's where all the crowds sit. Brum in P10 on the medium tyres has obviously cleared B-Bar thanks to that issue B-Bar suffered last lap round. Lili in 12th, Topad in 13th, and the newly hard tyre shod Monkey Games at the back of the grid. Topad and Monkey Games, where they started then on the back of our race. Here is Rhino battling hard with Sock, trying to recover that position after Sock has been revelatory at the start of this race and this season, you have to say. Second place in our season, behind Lili and ahead of his teammate going into this one. Sock's scoring 10 and 11 points in the first 2 rounds to NTO's solo win result. It is Rhino then in the beautiful purple Hector Motorsports colour, and Rhino goes round this time, and it's those medium tyres falling off a cliff as we get into the second third of our race. And that is a good rule of thumb I've learned over time, is that in our settings anyway, the mediums will roughly last a third of a race distance before suddenly surprising you. Black Evo in 4th with VR Hot Laps now in 5th. And VR Hot Laps in the Team Azul colours. I think we might have had a slightly slower run there from Daddy Banana. I think he's okay, the 25 coming through the bus stop. So back to Black Evo, trying to hold off VR Hot Laps here. Ferrari versus Lamborghini. We love to see it, of course. And absolutely full throttle past the penalty marker boards, and behind this group is Rhino after that little spill for Rhino. Here he is in P6 now, and he will have a big job on his hands, I think, to try and regain these positions. Scrappy Peace in the pits with 7 litres of fuel remaining to him only. He has really used the fuel in that BMW, to the surprise of 0 BMW owners. NTO and Sock will be faring better than most in their Peugeots, although Sock has used notably more fuel than his teammate as well. So Sock starting on the mediums. Will it be a question of changing to the mediums and then trying the softs at the end of the race, given that we've got ourselves 11 laps through this one? Do we consider that as an option? But I think we have to make sure that the hard tyres are a viable option at various points around our season. So we will see. Just a tyre compound change required. That's all. So the only thing is that he can't use 3 sets of mediums. And by the look of this stint length, that's not obviously what he's attempting to do. So Sock, I think, will be low enough to need to fuel now and head into the pit lane. So that will free up Daddy Banana. Can Sock essentially just hold the guys up behind him through the bus stop enough? I think he's not even thinking about that. Just maximum attack mode here. He was losing a bit of performance earlier on down that straightaway, but he seems to have made his way through the bus stop with relative ease and speed, crossing the yellow line then into the apron and in towards the pit lane with his teammate, who could have gone an extra lap. But Black Evo, VR Hot Laps, Rhino all following in. Daddy Banana will be your new leader of the race in the Lamborghini. And, no, Daddy Banana pits now. So there you have it. Brum, this is crucial because remember, before his pit stop, Brum was in the lead of this race. Zenith Specs pits. It looked like Zenith was about to challenge Brum for the lead of the race there. on the way into turn 1, which would have been a disaster. But this is the power of the undercut. We'll see if it actually completes itself here. Given the fact that Brum has had to pass several drivers earlier on, that's huge for Brum, and back out into perfect, clear air with a virtual 3/4 of a racetrack in front of him before the next slowest runner he will catch. So Brum, that has worked out gloriously, and he's almost the length of the short shoot down on the infield there, away from NTO, who he was only about a second away from earlier on. Now, I would estimate that these drivers all have one more pit stop to make, so that is genuine performance gap that Brum has built there ahead of NTO. Sock in third place, VR Hot Laps, Black Evo, Rhino all coming out of the pits pretty much in line with where they were before. Here is Daddy Banana then at the back of that group, but he's gone for the soft tyres. Despite the fact that he is behind several drivers he knows he's quicker than, so he now has to use those soft tyres, get ahead of these other drivers as fast as possible, get as much of a gap as he can, and then come in slightly earlier than the other drivers around him. Most everybody has gone on to a second set of mediums, albeit Sock, the standout one here, who's gone onto the hard tyres and could be doing something different to his teammate to play that rear gunner role and build the gap for the Argento team behind him. But that all depends on whether he can get the launch out of the bus stop, because there's very little you can do if your hard tyres will not fire up and you're slow out of that bus stop, because the drivers behind you will just pass you with absolute ease. It doesn't matter whether you defend or you just hold firm on the racing line. Here comes Sock, then he is losing 1 or 2 miles an hour relative to the likes of VR Hot Laps, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He will be nervous on his brakes here. Sock goes for a later apex. That kind of welcomes a potential move coming, and unfortunately for him, VR Hot Laps makes his way by. That was pretty standout there from Hot Laps and from Sock. Let's see if they did it without any kind of contact. It looks like the door is open. Sock is going for that late hairpin entry. I don't think, from at least VR Hot Laps' perspective, there was in fact any contact between the two of them. It was just that Sock's car would not reach the apex that he asked it to there on the hard tyres. So unfortunately for Sock and for Team Argento, this potential spoiler plan is not working at this stage. Brum well ahead of NTO, who himself is now well ahead of VR Hot Laps, who will be now putting in those hot laps to try and make his way by. Rhino down into the second in West Horseshoe hairpin corner and gets by Sock. Sock will not be happy about that. I think he picks out Daytona as a track he always wants to do well at, and losing a couple of positions in a single lap has got to feel pretty sore for Sock. We are approaching the halfway point of our race. Brum leads NTO and VR Hot Laps ahead of Black Evo and Sock. You can see on your screen behind them Daddy Banana starting to catch here. Sorry, behind them Rhino, then Daddy Banana. Starting to catch the group again, and we may well have an 8-car field, 7-car battle at the front. Grantley Peace is moving his way up here from the absolute back after lap 1 into P8. Has he got the pace to try and tag on to the slipstream of the cars in front, I wonder? In fact, let's have a revisit back to this group, because they are very, very close indeed. VR Hot Laps starting to gap now Black Evo and Sock. Behind them, Rhino has Daddy Banana sniffing around, looking for that inside low line and finding it. That was a difference in performance out of the bus stop. In towards turn 1 we go. Daddy Banana looks wide. Is he too wide? Well, he is as wide as Rhino, and neither car getting the advantage really through there. Daddy Banana getting through then back into 6th position, and fantastic to see this at the tail end of our podium contention. This 4-way battle continuing deep into lap 14. VR Hot Laps is ahead though, and holding that last podium position. NTO is on the run between the West Horseshoe and the in and out. Brum is on his way out of the out, in the lead of the race. Let's see if I can find a reference point now to count up where he finds himself. Well, we'll get a good idea. over the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7-ish seconds between himself and NTO. Sorry for the lo-fi way of doing that, but I don't really have any other better way that I can think of. But Brum ahead of NTO. Brum will had stopped earlier, will stop again earlier, may have to use the hard tyres. Can he rely then on the those this gap to the end of the race? You can see it there. NTO in P2, the Corsican, definitely not French driver in P2, with VR Hot Laps in third position, Black Evo in fourth, Daddy Banana in fifth, Rhino in sixth place in the Hector Porsche, with Sock in the RCZ down in seventh place, electing for those hard tyres, and may be wishing he hadn't. Grant in eighth, Phil in ninth. Grant trying to catch this group, but there's quite a gap there. Lili not far from his teammate in the Tortoro Porsche. Then we have Monkey Games up from the absolute back of the grid to 11th right now. Slightly offset with the pit stops to Zenith Specs, who I think might have put his second stop here and be fueled up to the end. That's quite a stint, and from Zenith Specs on the medium tyres as well. Topat on the hard tyres has hurt the back of the car, presumably spun and hit the barrier, because that would be a significant impact on the front of someone else's car, and I'm not seeing that anywhere. So my suspicion here is that Topat has hit the barrier again, or he stayed out after the accident that we saw earlier. B-Bar at the back of the grid, which is a big surprise to me, having raced with him personally. But maybe that just reflects really badly on me. But I think he's having a pretty unfortunate day out there today. Brum out in the lead with somewhere around 7.5 laps left to go, with NTO out in 12.5 laps to go. I can't do maths at the best of time, let alone when I'm actually talking. NTO in P2. Still a similar gap. Whether NTO is chatting with our AI Hector engineer to ask him what tyres Brum is on, and therefore is not at panic stations just yet, the thought of losing the race here. VR Hot Laps in third ahead of Black Evo, who just took a penalty, Evo, so the drivers behind him will now be in front of him. Daddy Banana and Rhino going by. Banana then back into fourth ahead of Rhino. So plenty to keep us entertained here. Daddy Banana's rear tyres slipping away there on the exit of turn one. Black Evo hot to trot, looking for his opportunity to get by the purple Porsche in front of him of the Hector Motorsports driver Rhino. Looks like a good exit out of the S's and down through the dogleg now. Can't quite get side by side there. Side by side would have allowed him the inside line. You can see how long those braking zones are for our GT3 machines here. As the relatively heavy, cool temperatures, you can see how long the drivers stay on the brakes for into those slower corners. They really need to scrub the speed off, and the tyres just not delivering what they are accustomed to. Look out for sunrise. It's still fully night condition at the moment. It's Black Evo in P6. Sock not a huge distance behind. We might see him just enter the picture there. No, not quite. Here he is. As we then have Grant in 8th position, who is going to struggle to get the slipstream on the back of this group. But if he can stop just ahead of the other drivers, maybe get some soft tyres on and have a little sprint outlap, maybe he'd be in a good position. Brum pits for his second and final stop with 11 laps to go. That is knocking on the door of just possible with the mediums. We'll see what he elects to do here. Does he play it safe with the gap he's worked hard to build earlier on and go soft, medium, hard? That is nightmare. That is a kind of nightmare arrangement for me. I hate going to a lower grip condition tyre mid-race, and Brum will have done it twice, so you're constantly adjusting to the negative of what your car will do rather than enjoying the grip to the positive, as it were. Black Evo right behind Rhino. NTO, the new leader, ahead of VR Hot Laps, albeit with the pit stop happening of Brum, who's putting 96 litres of fuel in the car, almost to the absolute brim from Brum. Again, not intentional. Side by side, some great action then between these two purple GT3 entries. Black Evo down the inside of Rhino, but has he overcooked it there slightly? Rhino still with him on the outside, could put himself in a good position to go for a switchback, but it looked like Black Evo sufficiently ahead on the braking zone on the way into the in and out, and coming back through, but he hasn't been able to put a gap on here. Rhino may well get a good slipstream. He's not following the wheel tracks exactly of the Ferrari to try and get that slipstream. He's getting something of it, but he's just happy to put a lot of pressure on the Joker helmeted Black Evo on the way into the bus stop. We do see drivers making mistakes once they've just overtaken another driver in their first big braking scene. But so far, so good for Black Evo. I was wondering whether Sock was about to get a penalty because he was right over that white line. I think if you can keep two tyres on the yellow curb, you are A-OK as far as GT7 track limits are concerned now. But at IMSA, they have reprofiled those curbs and you can no longer use them with anything like the amount of speed and aggressiveness that you can here in GT7. NTO ahead then. Look at this gap for NTO. I love this camera angle into the International Horseshoe here. VR Hot Laps in P2. Then we can see Black Evo ahead of Rhino and the distance to Sock. Good to then focus on the next car. That would be Grant coming through in the blue-nosed Obsidian BMW. There then is Brum, your former leader of the race. So he is now putting in those times. He has gone for the medium tyre and a large amount of fuel before we then cut back to see Zenith Specs in the second BMW trying to hold off Daddy Banana, who has just pitted, come out on brand new medium tyres, and he needs to make the move, and he has made the move very quickly, but he's made it with too much haste and overestimates the amount of grip that is available to him on those brand new tyres. Zenith Specs costing himself a bit of time here, but he has every right to defend these positions. An early turn in, expecting a dive bomb. That opportunity refused by Daddy Banana. Daddy Banana would do better, I think, in my very unqualified opinion, to just focus on his exit of the in and out and rely on the new tyre traction to halfway round the lap once the rears have warmed up, and of course the aero of this Lamborghini to try and pass the BMW down here. But we will see if that ends up working. I think he's perhaps not quite close enough to make that move just yet. And we'll see if we get a second pair of headlights peeling aside here. A little dummy move, but Zenith Specs not buying anything that Banana is selling right now. He does end up a little bit high on the racetrack, Zenith, here, but no, he's picked up a penalty. So the pressure did help to a certain extent. We'll see that penalty being paid. Sock blinks off the hard tyres, shortening that hard tyre run. We need to straighten up that windshield wiper there, don't we, on Daddy Banana's Lamborghini, because it's not going to be helping the aero as much as if it were tucked all the way down or at 90 degrees to the hood. It's Zenith Specs in P8, Sock coming into the pits. Danny Banana not far behind them. Zenith Specs in 9th now. And we've got Phil and B-Bar fighting hard over 10th and 11th positions as well. Lili in 12th, Monkey Games in 13th, and Lord Top Hat at the back has repaired the car back out on a brand new set of medium tyres to the end of the race, but the gap is difficult, you have to say, for him. B-Bar and B-Bar and Phil providing a bit of entertainment here on lap 19. Phil in the toothy grinned Tortoro Team Oro Gold, PSV Racing's affiliated. Do check out PSV Racing on YouTube. Check out his channel as well. The man of 1,000 names runs that one. Here you can see just the start of Daybreak at Daytona. And Phil getting a good gap then on B-bar thanks to a much better set of tyres that he's got on the car. We're still waiting for the final pit stop of NTO. Now at the start of the race, Brum managed to use the softs for only 5 laps. At the end of the race, with a track getting better and with less fuel on, we may see NTO try 6 or even one more than 6 laps on the way through. Good taste in helmet design, NTO. There, our Corsican. Looks like it might be a Lewis Hamilton gold edition helmet, possibly. And a bright red race suit. So hasn't quite got his silver race suit organised just yet, I think, for him. But good gap for NTO. But his race today is absolutely against Brum. So let's see how long NTO can stay out before having to pit, and whether he needs another set of, whether he's going to have to use the hard tyres because he's gone medium, or does he go onto the softs? I think he'll be targeting the softs if he can make it work at all. VR hot laps in P2. I must say Daytona is not the favourite place to run on borderline marginal soft tyres towards the end of the race, but you've got to make it work if you can. Black Evo across the bus stop beautifully this time in P3 ahead of Rhino, with Grant in 5th place. Is he going to get away with that one? That was a couple of wheels on the grass momentarily, but he has gotten away with it. It's Brum in P6 then, and we'll be keeping an eye on his progress. He is about a sector of the track away from NTO, who will need a relatively short pit stop. This is really intriguing. Hard work for Brum right now as he's chasing an unseen opponent. I'll be asking, I would have thought, Hector, through the course of this stint for the gap to NTO. He will have memorised the time it takes in the pit stop. He'll have to shave a second or two off that time because of the lack of fuel needed for NTO at this stage. And he'll be factoring in the difference in fuel economy of the Peugeot and the Ferrari. If he's worked that out as well, he's furiously trying to figure this out. And if he has a race engineer, that is the question he'll be asking him all the way through. I believe we still have opportunities, by the way, not only for title team sponsorship, but for race engineers for our team. It's a terrific way to get into motorsport, is to be a race engineer, a pit crew, prep perch engineer, and monitor the race. Directly transferable skills, of course, over to IRL on-track motorsport. So I would highly recommend it as a way to get involved if you are motorsport obsessed. However, some of our drivers never even watched a motorsport race before picking up GT7. They simply like VR gaming, and they've fallen into it this way. So that we have a huge broad church of driver profiles here at SVR. VR Hot Laps in 2nd at the moment, likely to be 3rd, with Black Evo in 3rd, likely to be 4th if Brum can string this stint together with perfection. Let's see if NTO is headed towards pit road. He is not, so that absolutely opens up the final lap then. The final stint to be a soft tyre run. So NTO running a 47.9 personal best on lap 20, followed by a 48.6. I want to have a look at Brum's times. 48.1, 47.5. So Brum is quicker right now on his partially used mediums than the fully used mediums of NTO, even though NTO has a fraction of the amount of fuel in comparison left in his tank. Hopefully, with Grant pitting with 1 litre left on his car, hopefully Brum has calculated this to perfection as well, his fuel economy, and isn't going to have to turn the engine down with a couple of laps to go. Here is NTO then, down onto the NASCAR turn 2 of, I guess 5 technically, running through on the oval configuration. I expect right now NTO will be headed in towards pit road, and everybody else will use this opportunity. With 5 laps to go, there's no question the tyres will last to the end. and you certainly don't want to be in a situation where you go a lap too long. 48.3, that time for VR Hot Laps. That's a good lap. That's a really good lap from him. Better than NTO's most recent lap as well. Watch out for that pit marker to come up on our screen for NTO and VR Hot Laps. Potentially Black Evo's in a similar situation. In we go with 1 litre of fuel, 1%, 1 litre of fuel left for NTO. VR Hot Laps with a little bit more, so he should be able to shave a portion of a second from his stationary time here to fuel to the end. Rhino with the most fuel of the top 4 as they pit, and here comes Brum then with his foot absolutely planted. Now he needs to rely on that gap and try and keep it. He'll be watching the tyre selections. He'll be asking Hector what the tyre selections are of his rivals here, and then checking out the gap to the cars behind. So he passes the pit lane exit with ease. No cars in his view at the moment. There potentially is the first of those cars. Let's have a look back at where NTO is. He is just coming out of the hairpin. I think that is 5 seconds is the deficit then for NTO to Brum, which is achievable within 5 laps on a brand new set of soft tyres. I think we could end up with a really, really close run here to the end of the race behind NTO. VR Hot Laps didn't really, I don't think, manage to gain a lot of time. But of course, one mistake from either of the cars in front will bring VR Hot Laps well into the top 2 position contention. Flying by our camera angle goes NTO and VR Hot Laps. Happy enough, I'm sure, now with the temperatures of their soft tyres as they continue through. Black Evo out also on the softs. Looks like medium soft is the most popular way to go running, but Brum gaining positions at the start from his, I think, 5th place qualifying up to the P1 using the soft tyres early has been able to make the difference. But is it enough before the end of our race? Daddy Banana in 7th has not pitted. I don't think. Has he pitted for the second time? I think he has, actually, thinking about it. Grant has come out on the soft tyres as well. He's in 8th. Phil's in 9th. Lila's in 10th. Monkey Games is in 11th with Zenith Specs in 12th. B-Bar in 13th. And Lord Top Hat, for now at least, at the back of the grid. But he can at least see his main rival for the Wooden Spoon today in P13. They're ahead. B-Bar, and he's putting in a personal best sector there, Lord Top Hat. So certainly someone who has not given up and is pushing to the very end. NTO already catching Brum significantly there. I think that is an almost 2-second gain on Brum, possibly 1.5 seconds or so for NTO over 1 lap. It is absolutely on here for the finish, and I can't imagine how Brum is feeling in his seat right now. Whoa, that's VR Hot Laps clearly pushing hard. Great save across the, picking up a little bit of grass, scattering grass trimmings across the circuit there as VR Hot Laps puts in the times here. But it's all about the fight for the lead here. Brum ahead of NTO, and what can happen with 3 laps, pretty much 3 and a bit laps left to go. Look at this lap time from NTO, 0.7 of a second faster than he's gone before. It's not purple yet. That may come on the next lap as he's lost a little bit of fuel, but the gap is shrinking by the second here. And now it's purple. That run through the bus stop was absolutely pro level from NTO. Look at this. He's even starting to catch a little bit of the slipstream on the back of Brum. Speeds have equalised. He's now slightly quicker here than Brum. That was the best lap of the race, a 1:47.005 from NTO here on lap 27. So we are we are closing the gap to the car in front with frightening speed here. You can get a good idea of which direction the wind is blowing as well on the way into the International Horseshoe. Brum now has to hope that NTO has scrubbed those soft tyres very, very quickly. But I'm hearing the Jaws music playing on the front loudspeaker of NTO's front Peugeot RCZ grille, and Brum will just about be able to detect that sound as he is being hunted by the Predator. NTO, and there's Brum, the rear just shaking away very, very slightly as he fights to get the pedal down. For the first time, NTO not quicker after his pit stop there than the previous lap sector. So possibly the initial bite off the off the soft tyres is going absolutely not, as he slams in another purple sector to this point at the halfway point around the lap on distance. And this is the battle then to the end of the race. Brum ahead of NTO. We've got a couple of other battles, but for nothing like this point. That looked like a problem on the exit of the bus stop for Brum, and he's going to lose the lead of the race, I fear. Here they are absolutely side by side, and they are tracking each other on the long run. Brum with the shorter distance down to turn 1 and through the tri-oval apex. Crossing the line, there is nothing between them over the line, and down into turn 1. Brum on the worst tyres, NTO on the favoured racing line, but Brum holds on. And was that a practice run potentially here on the penultimate lap for NTO? Is he setting up Brum to do exactly the same thing and giving him a false sense of confidence and kind of saying to him, look, I know, you know how we go into that corner together, but he's not worried about it. He's going to go around the outside through the dog leg. There will need to be a small lift on the way through here, and he manages it, slams on the brakes into the West Horseshoe. Brum going for the switchback, but NTO with a beautiful expert pass down the inside there with a slight tyre advantage. You have to give that over to Brum, who tries to close the distance through the in and out. Brum is really struggling to get the power down, but now the hunter becomes the hunted. NTO devouring Brum into the West Horseshoe there. A beautiful pass, and Brum then with the impetus now to try and stay with NTO and force an error. But we have a lap and a half only left to go. NTO making his way by, and heartbreak for Brum at this stage. He was put in so much work to be in a position to challenge for the outright win today. I always think that a driver is disappointed if they have been at the front of the race and not been able to convert it. But I have been proved wrong in the past. Some drivers say, no, you know what? I never thought it was going to happen. Even when I was in the lead, I knew there was going to be an offset. I'm not quite sure. As much as I've raced with and talked with Brum, I'm not quite sure how he would be looking at this one. Lili in 10th, Zenispecs in 11th. We've got Monkey Games in 12th, B-Bar in 13th. Lord Top Hat still at the back of the grid at the moment, hasn't recaught. And now it is all about NTO versus Brum once again. But now, of course, the roles are very much reversed. Brum is pushing very hard and puts his Ferrari 296 Morado onto the marbles. That's going to hurt him in his chase here. NTO looking like he has absolutely grabbed this one and has aced the strategy, the perfect strategy, medium, soft, versus what you can see behind of Brum. Take nothing away from Brum though at this point. He started back on the third row of the grid on soft tyres, had to put in the passes. That did cost him in terms of laps, pit stop timing, but he's gone soft, medium, and it hasn't been the way to go today, sadly, as we see the gap starting to disappear now. That is the heartbreak. That is the hopes and dreams of a win here for Brum, dropping away as the lap time increases behind this rear wing. One more braking zone really for NTO to nail here on this final lap around Daytona, and he's going to exit out of that corner, rounds the grandstands full of racing fans here. The site, of course, of the Rolex 24. We've gone for a 24 day-night cycle today. It's 27 laps. It's NTO who is going to take a second consecutive win here at round 3 of the 2026 VR Sim Racing World Championship G2 Division. NCO wins in Daytona ahead of Brum with a fabulous battle between the two of them. VR Hot Laps coming through to take home what I imagine to be fantastic points for the team. Black Evo in fourth as well. Great to see him up there. And we've got Rhino crossing the line in fifth for Hector Motorsports. Argento making it a 1-6 then with Sock today. Daddy Banana crossing the line in seventh. Has had a couple of dramas, but albeit a great result. Grant with a good comeback drive here in P8 ahead of the first of the Totoro Porsches. Phil in ninth. Lili from the lead of the championship, that will be given up, I expect, now with a P10 here at Daytona. No penalty on the car to worry about. Lili home ahead of Monkey Games in P11. Likewise, no penalties on the cars there. B-Bar comes through, and again, P12 for B-Bar. And from 6th in the championship at 12th place is going to be a disappointment, but that's a lot to be blamed on qualifying, I think. Zenith Specs will chase him to the line, but come home in 13th position, sadly. And Lord Top Hat fought hard for that final 14th place. But it's NCO ahead of Brum and VR Hot Laps, your fabulous podium today. GG. Great result for Morado as well, finishing second and fourth. Yeah, that is your G2 race round 3, the final broadcast round race of round 3 here at the 2026 VR Sim Racing World Championship. Of course, next up, give me a second. Next up, we are at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta for round 4 of the championship. Look out for that. For Sunday racing on this channel and Thursday replays. A big thank you from me, Webbo, from all of us here at SVR. But for now, thank you for watching. We will catch you on the next race day.